Well, I mean, obviously there's a line that can't cross and you ultimately get fined for. So that, I mean, that's my reaction to it. I mean, obviously, I think that if he could take it back, he would. But you can ask him about it.
Brad, Dan Roach from WBZ. Just your thought on the challenge, the opportunity that these guys have tonight with this now coming off the Washington, the two there.
It's, I mean, a special opportunity to compete, you know, and I think that obviously anytime you get a chance to still be playing, there aren't very many teams playing right now, and we're excited for our opportunity to compete. You know, it didn't go well in Washington. I think that's been pretty well documented. We've had the benefit of a lot of dead time over the last couple of days to think about it. You know, I think we're looking forward to getting back out on the court.
Coach, hi. Pascal Gibane from Canal Plus Afrique. How did you think your team handled the Wizards' physicality in the last two games, and what is the solution for tonight?
Yeah, I mean, they were the better team in every which way in the last two games, and so we have to play better, and there's a lot that goes into that. Offensively, we've got to be better with the ball. We've got to be better in our spacing. We've got to play with a higher motor. Defensively, we've got to be, first and foremost, we've got to take care of the ball. So it goes back to offense so that we don't put ourselves in disadvantaged breaks like we were over and over and over. As I said earlier today, like it felt like for a good majority of the last two games, those guys are playing 3-on-2 or 2-on-1, or sometimes Wall blows by you all and plays 1-on-0. And we just have to be better in that regard, and then, you know, be more solid in the way that we want to defend. But, you know, obviously we have to give ourselves a chance to defend.
Mark Murphy, Boston Herald. Brad, one thing that characterized the last two games are just huge attacks of turnovers at untimely times. I mean, how do you turn that around?
Well, we really worked on, if we're wearing white, make sure to get it to the guy in white. If we're wearing green, try to make sure to get it to the guy in green. I can never keep up with what we're going to wear game to game with all these different jerseys we have. But no, they're very conscious of the ball, and they've done a great job of being conscious of the ball. And we have to be better in our cuts. We have to be, like I said, we have to play with a higher motor in our cuts. And we have to attack in some unique ways. And so they're doing, they did a good job with that stuff. And their length and athleticism was a real factor in the last two games. And we got to do a better job of using the whole court to at least manage that.
Coach, no, well established that you guys are always going to shoot a lot of threes, but other times, either in a run or just in a game where you'll call for something that goes to the basket, for something that goes to the post, or is it always just kind of in the flow of play? If it ends up being a three, it's a three.
Everything we run would be a layup option first. I mean, and anytime that you can get an angle at the rim, you want to try to get that. You know, the problem is the other team tries to take those away. And so ultimately, the next thing, right, if you don't have an angle at the rim or you don't have an advantage where you can score over somebody, which, you know, as you get deeper into this is tougher and tougher to find, then it's to spray it out and either attack again and get back in the paint or shoot the three. And our offense has been really good this year because of our ability to attack the paint but then spray it out. And, you know, there's different ways to do it, you know, whether it's by the drive or if they're loaded up on the drive by the cut. If they're loaded up on both of those by throwing in the post and then cutting, which we've been good at. So, you know, we'll try to exhaust all of those.
Coach Bob Schron, the Citizen, could you talk about the rebounding of your team and how important that is in terms of establishing a dominant?
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's the thing that probably was gone or wasn't as much discussed was they got a couple of critical rebounds early in that third quarter run where we had position, and we got to do a better job of getting the ball and making sure that we give ourselves our best chance of getting the ball. But, you know, hey, we talked about it too, about there's going to be times where we're smaller, and that's why we have to battle for every rebound. And it's a lot like, you know, the Bulls series from the standpoint that, you know, if we're in the mix in games, I feel good about our chances if we take care of the ball. If we're turning it over and getting out rebounded, we don't have a shot, as most teams wouldn't.
Brad, Steve Belpat, Boston Herald. In the playoffs, when the intensity gets ratcheted up, is there difficulty at any point with players wanting to match physicality, et cetera, but not losing poise? You know, just wanting to play tough, but not.
I'm sure there is. I haven't seen it from the standpoint of I feel good about our approach. I feel good about you know, our ability to stay in the moment. We didn't play well in those couple of runs, but you know, I haven't seen that necessarily very much. Obviously, Game 3 got chippy, but you know, for the most part, in the first 4 games. You know, both teams have been playing hard and competing. You know, they outplayed us the last 2 games.
Brad, Chris Gasper, Boston Globe. I asked you back in the Bulls series about, you know, having a deep roster and a lot of possible combinations, and you said we just have to find the right one for this series, and you did. Do you feel like you found the right one for this series in terms of the starting lineup?
I think we've got an idea, but I'm not as concerned about necessarily the starting lineup per se. I'm concerned about each lineup. You know, and I think the biggest thing with that is they go small, obviously, off the bench. And Bogdanovich has given us fits at different times throughout this series already. When we've been big against that lineup, we've given up some threes. So there's a little bit of a balancing act there. But I think that, you know, as I went through specifically the Game 2 start, it wasn't as bad as it felt. Last game, I felt really good about the start, and you know, and so we'll go from there. But like I said, we're on high alert if we need to make change. But I feel good about the way that those guys have played, and they've played well all year.
Coach Mark D'Amico, Celtics.com. As the series gets further and further along, and the games become more and more important, what is the key to playing free basketball and not playing with any pressure?
Yeah, we're playing basketball. You know, I think that if anything, we got a dose of perspective, unlike many of us have been through as part of a team in the last month. And so we're getting ready to play a basketball game. We're putting everything we got into it. It's a basketball game, and we're going to give everything we have to try to win it. There's 2 teams out there. Both teams play like that. Both teams find great joy and passion in playing this game that they've played since they were kids. They love to play it, and they love the idea of you know, there being a winner at the end of it. That's part of what makes this fun. But I think that, you know, when you're in the true like competition, I think there's nothing more fun than that for the guys that are out in the court. You know, all those guys on both sides are special in that regard. Thank you.